From San Francisco to Paris, Nashville to Amsterdam, we're reaching up.
This is John Fass in San Francisco, and we're reaching up again this week with music, some cool wisdom, and special guests.
Hi, this is William Paul Young, author of The Shack, with Dawn on Reaching Up on the Celebrate Radio Network.
We are at Capital Christian Center in Sacramento, California, with Paul, the author of a very big book called The Shack.
It's actually a kind of a little book.
Well, it's had a big effect, and it made the New York Times bestseller list, and it's sold everywhere, and people love it, but there's also some controversy about it as well, which we'll get into. Tell us about your background and how The Shack came about.
My background is I'm Canadian-born, grew up in the Highlands of New Guinea, missionary kid, preacher's kid, bad combination. And then, just worked at all kinds of jobs, married a woman out of North Dakota, Minnesota. We settled in Oregon, and have 6 children. My youngest is 17, my oldest is 30. And I've written gifts for friends and family for a lot of years, and Kim, my wife, had been after me to just put in one place how I think as a gift for the kids, and that's all I was trying to do in 2005, was get it done for Christmas. Got it done, made 15 copies at Office Depot, went back to work. Never have published anything, never thought about publishing anything, and my friends kept giving it away. I ended up in the hands of some folks who thought it could be a film. That started an actual publishing conversation, and 26 publishers turned it down, so a couple guys created a publishing company just to do it. We pooled our resources, limited as they were, and set up a website. And from that website,
did I hear you say this morning that you printed up something like 15 books?
Yeah, I did, at Office Depot. And 15 copies was my my whole dream. It was. I've never quite written anything of this size. I've just written poetry and short stories and songs, and so 15 copies. That's 6 to my kids. Kim got a copy, and the rest went to my friends.
Aside from your personal walk of faith, had you done anything spiritually before either?
Oh, yeah. I'm a missionary kid, preacher's kid, so I've done all kinds of things, whether it's been working in the Philippines or I was on staff at a church for a couple of years in the late 70s, early 80s. And but I've done a lot of teaching in colleges and church places, just independent stuff. So I was involved in that, but most of my life was in business of one sort or another.
And you don't mind telling people what you told me just before we started, that for a little while you were a rock disc jockey in Saskatchewan?
Rock and roll, 6 to midnight. That's how I paid my way through Bible school, which is kind of an oxymoron. But
so the 15 books, how did the 15 books get to be the first million books?
When my friends kept giving it away, and we ended up, they ended up creating that little publishing company out of California. We set up the website. The first thing that happened was a podcast that really generated things, and that was 2 guys talking about relationship with God. And because of that podcast that went all over the world, 45 minutes a week, they started talking about the concepts that were in the book before it actually got published. And we pre-sold 1,000 copies, and they went all over the world. And the rest of we gave a whole bunch away, and then people started coming to the website, and they started buying 5, and then 10, and then 20, and then cases. Very unexpectedly, we were hoping to get through 10,000 copies in 2 years, which we've heard is quite aggressive. And we ended up going through actually 11,000 copies in the first 3.5 months. So we ordered 20,000, went through those in 60 days, ordered 30,000, went through those in 30 days. And it just took off. That's when Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and these kind of folks found us. They started coming to us. And in the first 13 months, we spent less than $300 in marketing and advertising and shipped over 1 million books out of a garage in Los Angeles.
I think the big publishers wouldn't mind doing that.
No, the 26 publishers who turned us down, a number of them came back and visited us shortly thereafter. So they were quite surprised, as was everybody, including me. There's nobody more surprised about all this than I am.
Paul, tell us what The Shack, besides being a title of a book, is. What is The Shack?
Well, you can read the book as a story, and it's a fiction story. It's a mystery suspense wrapped up in a what if. What if in the midst of our tragedies or great sadnesses there is a God who is good all the time? And the shack becomes a metaphor for the house on the inside. It's the It's the house that people help you build. And a lot of us, we didn't get good help. And so it is a shack. It's not a nice little house. It's got broken boards. The walls aren't properly aligned. There's
no white picket fence?
No, it's just a mess. And so it becomes the place where we then store our addictions and we hide all of our secrets. And it's a place of shame, pain. And we don't want anybody to go in there. And so for some of us, especially religious kids, we then become performers, trying to paint a facade to people's expectations as a way of not letting them in the shack. And everybody has to go back. At some point you have to go back to the places where you're stuck. And that means dealing with secrets and dealing with the addictions and
the facade.
Yeah, the facade, you set up outside the shack, quarter-inch piece of plywood. You can paint as fast as you can pick up people's expectations. And the thing about the facade is that, so much of religion teaches you a dualism. That is, you have your spiritual part of your life and you have the rest of your life. And that actually perpetrates this idea of the facade. And it's not like the facade is what you're trying to do to be duplicitous. You're not trying to be dishonest. You're trying to be authentic, but you're putting all your energy into the facade, hoping that one day maybe it will become the real boy. And so it's all about, especially if you're religious, it's about praying a lot and reading scriptures and studying things and giving and involvement and all those kinds of things. And the facade becomes your hope. And that's... But, the addictions are still going on in the shack, the secrets are still there, and you're not authentic. So in the name of righteousness or religious performance, you're actually moving further away from authenticity.
In the shack, I believe God does not have a white beard.
Oh, yes. And this is the place where the main character, Mackenzie, has to go because it's the center of his pain. And he goes there first and just is furious, as any human being would be. And he thinks that Plato's God is the one who he believes in. And he thinks God is Gandalf with an attitude and, the big grandfatherly omni-being watching from a distant heaven with a disapproving heart. And that God doesn't show up. And he's just furious. And it's about, at that point he basically gives up. And that's when a transformation takes place. He is then confronted with a God who is three persons, but the God the Father is actually a large black African American woman, and that has bent some people around the corner a little bit. But I was trying, in writing this for my kids, I was trying to get away from this Western, distant, unapproachable, unreachable, untouchable, unemotional God, who really is looking for a reason why he can X you out of the universe. It's not much different than Zeus, and there's nothing that portrayed that better to me than a large black African American woman.
This was actually somebody you knew?
In part, yeah, Renee Greenwich, and I sort of built a persona off of her, and she passed away a few months ago, and I've known her for 30 few years. Beautiful, wonderful friend, and a large black African American woman.
Reaching Up with Don Fass. Don Fass.
Reaching Up Radio is a production of Street Cats Foundation for Youth and One Heart for Kids. Our engineers in San Francisco, John Clem and David Molina. And in Denver, Michael Tamburello of TMG Music. Email us at reachingupradio@yahoo.com or write us at Post Office Box 72174, Oakland, California 94612. Or see us on the web and join us at reachingupradio.com. This is Don Fass. Join us next weekend and keep reaching up.